The massive alien ship approached Earth with the grace of a silver whale moving through dark water. Commander Zixtal stood on the bridge watching the blue and green planet grow larger on the main screen. His 6 arms moved across different control panels while his large golden eyes studied every detail of the world below. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the human space station," reported his communication officer. The voice came through the ship's speakers in perfect English, though it had taken their computers weeks to decode the human language. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of Space Station Liberty. Welcome to Earth's solar system. We are honored to meet you and hope this marks the beginning of friendship between our species." Zixtal activated his own communication system. His voice translator worked quickly to convert his thoughts into human speech. "Greetings, Captain Morrison. I am Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Council ship Harmony's Edge. We come in peace and friendship. We request permission to dock with your station." "Permission granted, Commander. We have prepared Docking Base 7 for your arrival. Our science team is very excited to meet you." As the alien ship moved closer to the space station, Dr. Morgan entered the bridge carrying a data pad filled with information about Earth. The alien scientist had spent months studying human television broadcasts, internet signals, and satellite images that had leaked into space over the past century. "Commander, I have completed my analysis of Earth's ecosystem," Dr. Morgan said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "I must warn you that this planet is extremely dangerous. The humans have somehow managed to survive on a world filled with terrifying predators." Zixtal looked at the datapad with concern. Images of lions, tigers, sharks, and bears filled the screen. Each creature looked massive and deadly. Their teeth were sharp, their claws were long, and their eyes showed the cold stare of natural killers. "How do these humans manage to live with such monsters?" Zixtal asked. "I believe they are incredibly brave, Commander. Or perhaps they are simply too primitive to understand the danger around them. Look at this creature they call a great white shark. It can grow to 20 feet long and has rows of razor-sharp teeth. Yet humans voluntarily enter the water where these beasts live." The bridge crew gathered around the datapad, studying each image with growing amazement. The Valerians had evolved on a peaceful world called Serenity, where the largest predator was no bigger than what humans would call a house cat. Violence was almost unknown on their planet, and the concept of living alongside such dangerous creatures seemed impossible. "And here," Dr. Morgan continued, "is what they call a brown bear. It weighs over 800 pounds and can run faster than most Valerian vehicles. Yet humans live in the same forests as these creatures. Some humans even approach them to take photographs. Surely they must have powerful weapons to protect themselves," suggested the ship's security officer. "Some do, but many humans venture into these dangerous areas with nothing but primitive tools. They call it camping and hiking, and they seem to enjoy it. I can only conclude that humans have developed extraordinary courage through constant exposure to mortal danger." The docking procedure went smoothly, and soon the alien delegation was walking through the corridors of the human space station. Captain Morrison met them at the airlock along with 2 other humans. He was a tall man with brown hair and friendly eyes that showed no fear despite meeting aliens for the first time. "Commander Zixtal, welcome aboard. I'm Jake Morrison, Station Commander. This is Dr. Lisa Parker, our head of xenobiology, and Professor Danny Wright, our marine biologist." Dr. Parker stepped forward with a warm smile. She was a woman in her 40s with short blonde hair and intelligent green eyes. "We're thrilled to meet you. This is a historic moment for both our species." Professor Wright nodded in agreement. He was a bearded man who looked like he spent more time outdoors than in laboratories. "We've prepared a full presentation about Earth's biosphere. We think you'll find it fascinating." The group moved to the station's main conference room, where large screens could display holographic images. As they walked, Dr. Morgan noticed that the humans showed no signs of the constant alertness he expected from people who lived among deadly predators. They moved casually, talked freely, and seemed completely relaxed. "Captain Morrison," Dr. Morgan said carefully, "we have studied your world, and we are impressed by your species' bravery. Living alongside such dangerous creatures as lions and sharks requires remarkable courage." Captain Morrison looked confused. "Dangerous creatures? Well, I suppose some animals can be dangerous if you're not careful, but most people never encounter anything really threatening. But surely you must always be prepared for attack," Dr. Morgan insisted. "Your great white sharks alone must claim thousands of victims each year." Dr. Parker laughed gently. Actually, shark attacks are extremely rare. You're more likely to be struck by lightning than attacked by a shark. Most sharks are completely harmless to humans. The aliens exchanged puzzled looks. Their data clearly showed massive predators with terrible teeth and claws, yet the humans seemed unconcerned about them. Perhaps, suggested Commander Zixtal diplomatically, you could show us more about your world's ecosystem. We are very interested to learn how your species has achieved such harmony with dangerous wildlife. Of course, Dr. Parker replied, moving to the control panel for the holographic display system. We'd be happy to give you a complete overview of life on Earth, though I think you might be surprised by what we consider to be our planet's most dangerous inhabitants. Professor Wright grinned. Wait until they see the microscopic stuff, Lisa. That's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Parker returned his smile with a mischievous look. Let's start with the big obvious things first. Danny, we don't want to overwhelm our guests right away. As the lights dimmed and the holographic system activated, Dr. Morgan prepared to take notes on human survival techniques. He expected to learn about advanced warning systems, protective equipment, and combat training that allowed humans to coexist with Earth's apex predators. He had no idea that everything he thought he knew about Earth's dangers was completely wrong, and that the real terrors of the human homeworld were far too small to see with the naked eye. The aliens were about to discover that surviving on Earth required adaptations so extreme that most galactic species would consider them impossible. But first, they would have to understand that size and visible threats meant nothing in the complex web of life that had shaped humanity into something far more resilient than any other species the galaxy had ever encountered. The next morning, Dr. Parker stood before the holographic display system, while the alien delegation settled into their seats. She had spent hours preparing what she called a comprehensive tour of Earth's biosphere, and she could barely contain her excitement about sharing her world's incredible diversity with beings from another planet. Yesterday, you mentioned being impressed by our large predators. Dr. Parker began, her fingers dancing across the control panel. But I think you've been looking at Earth from the wrong perspective. Let me show you the real rulers of our planet. The holographic display activated, and suddenly the conference room filled with a three-dimensional image that made the aliens gasp in unison. What appeared before them was not a lion or shark, but something far smaller and infinitely more complex. A single drop of pond water magnified thousands of times revealed a universe of movement and life. This is one drop of ordinary pond water, Dr. Parker explained casually. What you're seeing are just a few of the millions of microorganisms that live in every drop of water on Earth. Dr. Morgan leaned forward, his four eyes wide with disbelief. Tiny creatures swam through the holographic water like alien spaceships, some with whipping tails, others with hair-like structures that moved them forward. Some appeared to be hunting others, while different species seemed to be dividing themselves into copies. How many of these organisms exist in this single drop? Commander Zixtal asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Roughly 10 million bacteria, along with thousands of other microorganisms including viruses, fungi, and various parasites. Dr. Parker replied with the same tone she might use to discuss the weather. Of course, that's just pond water. Ocean water contains even more life. The aliens' translation devices worked frantically as they tried to process terms like bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Their homeworld had never developed such microscopic complexity, and the concept of invisible life forms was completely foreign to their understanding. Professor Wright stepped forward with a grin. Lisa, show them the soil sample. Dr. Parker nodded and changed the holographic display. Now the aliens found themselves looking at what appeared to be an alien battlefield. Countless microscopic organisms moved through spaces between dirt particles, creating a complex ecosystem that existed beneath every footstep on Earth. A single gram of soil contains approximately 1 billion bacteria, Dr. Parker continued. That's more individual life forms than exist on most inhabited planets in the galaxy. And this is just ordinary garden soil from outside my house. The Valerian medical officer, Dr. Kelth, activated his bioscanner and pointed it at the humans. The device immediately began beeping frantically, displaying readings that made no sense to alien physiology. Commander, I'm detecting massive biological contamination on all three humans. They appear to be carrying trillions of foreign organisms. Captain Morrison chuckled. Foreign organisms? You mean our normal bacteria? Every human carries about the same amount. Same amount of what? Dr. Kelth asked weakly. Bacteria, Dr. Parker explained patiently. The human body contains roughly the same number of bacterial cells as human cells. We couldn't survive without them. They help us digest food, fight off dangerous infections, and maintain our health. Commander Zixtal's 6 arms began trembling. You're telling us that you deliberately carry trillions of alien organisms inside your bodies? They're not alien to us, Professor Wright laughed. We've evolved together for millions of years. We're partners now. Some of these bacteria are so important that we can't live without them. Dr. Morgan was frantically taking notes while his scanner confirmed everything the humans were saying. But surely these organisms must be controlled somehow. You must have containment systems or protective barriers. Containment systems? Dr. Parker looked puzzled. Why would we contain them? We share food and drink with other humans all the time. Every time we shake hands, talk, breathe, or kiss someone, we're exchanging millions of microorganisms. Several alien crew members required immediate medical attention as this information sank in. The concept of voluntary biological exchange was so far outside their experience that some were going into shock. Let me show you something really interesting, Dr. Parker said, switching the holographic display again. Now the aliens were looking at the inside of a human mouth, magnified to show the complex bacterial communities that live there. The human mouth contains more bacteria than there are people on most civilized worlds, she explained cheerfully. Different species of bacteria live on the tongue, the teeth, the gums, and the cheeks. They form complex communities and help protect us from harmful microorganisms that might try to invade. Dr. Kelth was now openly hyperventilating. Every word you speak releases millions of these organisms into the air we're breathing. That's right, Captain Morrison nodded. But don't worry, your ship's air filtration system is probably handling it just fine. Our air filtration system was designed to handle dust particles and chemical contaminants, Commander Zixtal said faintly. Not biological warfare? Biological warfare? Professor Wright looked confused. This isn't warfare, this is just normal life on Earth. Wait until you hear about the organisms we eat on purpose. Eat on purpose? Dr. Morgan whispered. Dr. Parker smiled and activated another holographic display. Humans have learned to work with bacteria to create better food. We use bacterial cultures to make cheese, yogurt, bread, beer, wine, and hundreds of other foods. We literally consume billions of living microorganisms every day because they make our food taste better and improve our health. The alien delegation sat in stunned silence as images of fermented foods filled the air around them. Cheese covered in visible mold, yogurt teeming with active cultures, and bread raised by living yeast organisms looked like biological weapons to beings who had never encountered such things. We also use bacteria to help with digestion, Professor Wright added helpfully. When people get sick and take medicine that kills their helpful bacteria, we give them probiotics to restore the proper balance. Probiotics? Commander Zixtal asked weakly. Pills full of living bacteria, Dr. Parker explained. We swallow billions of them to maintain our health. Dr. Kelth finally fainted, and 2 alien crew members had to carry him to the medical bay. The remaining aliens stared at the humans with a mixture of horror and disbelief. Perhaps, Dr. Parker suggested gently, we should take a break before we discuss Earth's venomous species. There are more dangerous organisms? Dr. Morgan asked in a voice barely above a whisper. Captain Morrison and Professor Wright exchanged amused glances. They were beginning to understand that their alien visitors had severely underestimated the biological complexity of their home world, and the real education was just beginning. After Dr. Kelth recovered from his fainting spell, the alien delegation returned to the conference room with visible reluctance. Commander Zixtal had ordered full environmental suits for his crew, though the humans assured them it was unnecessary. The aliens now viewed every breath of air as a potential biological invasion. Professor Wright stood beside the holographic display with barely contained enthusiasm. He had spent his entire career studying Earth's marine life, and the opportunity to share his knowledge with beings from another world was a dream come true. I think we should focus on what I like to call the small but mighty, he began, activating the display system. Your initial surveys concentrated on our large predators, but you completely missed some of Earth's most efficient killers. The holographic image that appeared made the aliens lean back in their chairs. A delicate, translucent creature floated in virtual water, its bell-shaped body pulsing gently as tentacles drifted below like deadly ribbons. "This is the Australian box jellyfish," Professor Wright explained. "It's about the size of a human head, nearly transparent and almost impossible to see in the water. Its venom is so powerful that it can kill a full-grown human in less than 5 minutes." Dr. Morgan's scanner was working overtime, analyzing the holographic creature. "But it looks so fragile. How can something so small be more dangerous than a shark?" "Size doesn't matter when you're dealing with biological chemistry," Dr. Parker interjected. "The box jellyfish's tentacles contain millions of microscopic harpoons called nematocysts. Each one injects venom that attacks the nervous system, heart, and skin cells simultaneously." "And humans swim in the same oceans as these creatures?" Commander Zixtal asked. "Every day," Captain Morrison nodded. "Australia has some of the most popular beaches in the world, right in box jellyfish territory. People just learn to be careful during jellyfish season." Professor Wright changed the holographic display to show a small octopus with bright blue rings covering its body. The creature looked almost cute as it moved across the virtual ocean floor, but the alien's bioscanners immediately detected massive toxicity readings. "The blue-ringed octopus," Professor Wright continued. "About the size of a human fist, but it carries enough venom to kill 26 adult humans. When it shows these beautiful blue rings, it's warning you that you're about to die." "The rings are a warning system?" Dr. Morgan asked, frantically taking notes. "Exactly. But here's the interesting part. Humans see those blue rings and think they're beautiful. Tourist guidebooks warn people not to pick them up. But every year someone tries to get a closer look." The aliens exchanged horrified glances. The concept of being attracted to a deadly warning display was completely alien to their survival instincts. Captain Morrison leaned back in his chair with a nostalgic smile. "When I was growing up in Texas, we had rattlesnakes in our backyard pretty regularly. My dad taught me to listen for the rattle sound and back away slowly." "Rattlesnakes?" Commander Zixtal inquired weakly. The holographic display switched to show a thick-bodied snake, coiled in striking position, its tail vibrating rapidly to produce the characteristic warning sound. The bioscanners immediately registered lethal venom levels. "Rattlesnakes inject hemotoxic venom that destroys blood cells and tissue," Professor Wright explained. "Without medical treatment, a bite can be fatal, but they're actually quite polite about warning you before they strike." "Polite?" Dr. Morgan looked confused. "They rattle their tails to tell you to go away," Captain Morrison explained. "Most snakes would rather avoid humans than fight us, but if you surprise one or corner it, they'll defend themselves." Dr. Parker activated another display showing various spiders, each one registering as highly venomous on the alien scanners. "We have black widows, brown recluses, funnel web spiders, and dozens of other venomous species. Most human children learn to identify dangerous spiders before they can properly tie their shoes. Children encounter these creatures regularly." Commander Zixtal's voice cracked. "Well, we try to teach them to avoid the dangerous ones," Dr. Parker said. "But kids are curious. Most of us have stories about finding spiders in our houses or sheds." Professor Wright grinned and switched the display to show a large, aggressive-looking spider in what appeared to be someone's basement. "I actually keep a few harmless species as pets. They're excellent for controlling insects." Several aliens required medical attention again as this information sank in. The concept of voluntarily sharing living space with venomous creatures was beyond their comprehension. "But surely you have developed advanced medical treatments for these venoms," Dr. Morgan said hopefully. "Of course," Dr. Parker nodded. "We make antivenom by injecting small amounts of venom into horses or sheep. Their immune systems create antibodies, which we harvest and purify for human use." "You torture innocent animals with deadly poisons?" Commander Zixtal gasped. "We don't torture them," Professor Wright corrected. "We use very small doses, and the animals develop immunity. It's actually quite safe for them, and it saves thousands of human lives every year." Captain Morrison added, "We've also learned to use many of these venoms for medical research. Snake venom has led to treatments for heart disease and blood pressure problems. Spider venom is being studied for possible cancer treatments." The aliens stared at the humans in stunned silence. The concept of turning deadly biological weapons into medicine was so far outside their experience that they couldn't process it properly. "Let me see if I understand correctly," Commander Zixtal said slowly. "You live alongside creatures that can kill you with a single bite or sting. You deliberately expose animals to their venoms to create medicines, and you use the poisons themselves to develop new treatments." "That's right," Dr. Parker smiled. "We've learned that nature's most dangerous creations often hold the keys to solving our biggest medical problems." "And children play in areas where these creatures live?" Dr. Morgan asked faintly. "Kids are tougher than you might think," Captain Morrison laughed. "Most of us survive childhood encounters with dangerous wildlife. It teaches us to be observant and respectful of nature." Professor Wright leaned forward conspiratorially. "Wait until you hear about our parasites. Some of them can actually control human behavior." Dr. Kelth immediately fainted again, and this time he had to be carried to the medical bay on a stretcher. The remaining aliens looked at the humans with expressions of pure terror mixed with grudging admiration. They were beginning to understand that humanity hadn't conquered Earth's dangers through superior technology or weapons. Instead, they had adapted to live in harmony with biological threats so severe that most galactic species would consider them unsurvivable. After another emergency medical consultation for Dr. Kelth, who was now under constant supervision, Dr. Parker decided it was time to address what she considered the most remarkable aspect of human survival on Earth. The remaining alien delegation gathered around the holographic display with obvious reluctance, their environmental suits making soft humming sounds as they filtered the air. "What I'm about to show you represents humanity's greatest victory," Dr. Parker began, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "For millions of years, invisible enemies have been trying to wipe out our species. Not only have we survived, but we've turned this biological warfare into our greatest strength." The holographic display activated to show what appeared to be a historical timeline of Earth. But instead of showing human civilizations, it focused on microscopic battles that had shaped the course of human development. Images of plague victims, disease cities, and medical discoveries filled the air around them. "This is the Black Death," Dr. Parker explained, pointing to medieval scenes of suffering. "A bacterial infection called plague that killed 1/3 of Europe's population in just 5 years. The bacteria was carried by fleas on rats, spreading faster than any army could march." Commander Zixtal watched the historical footage with growing horror. 1/3 of an entire continent died from microscopic organisms? That was just one epidemic, Professor Wright added grimly. Smallpox killed an estimated 300 million people in the 20th century alone. Influenza, cholera, typhus, and dozens of other diseases have each claimed millions of human lives throughout history. Dr. Morgan was frantically calculating on his datapad. "These microscopic entities have killed more humans than all your large predators combined, multiplied by thousands." "Exactly," Dr. Parker nodded. "And yet humanity not only survived but grew stronger. Each epidemic that swept through our population left survivors who had developed resistance. Over thousands of generations, we became harder and harder to kill." The holographic display changed to show the inside of a human cell being invaded by a virus. The aliens watched in fascination as the microscopic battle played out, with human immune cells attacking and destroying the invaders. "Every human carries the genetic memory of these ancient battles," Dr. Parker continued. "Our immune systems are like military forces that have been fighting wars for millions of years. We recognize enemies our ancestors faced centuries ago. But surely these diseases still threaten your species," Commander Zixtal said hopefully. Captain Morrison laughed. "We've learned to fight back. Show them vaccination, Lisa." The display changed to show a historical scene of a human doctor deliberately infecting a healthy child with a weakened form of a deadly disease. The aliens recoiled in horror as they watched what appeared to be intentional biological warfare being conducted on human young. "This is vaccination," Dr. Parker explained calmly. "We deliberately expose ourselves to weakened or dead versions of dangerous diseases so our immune systems can learn to fight them without the risk of dying." "You intentionally infect your own children with deadly pathogens, Doctor?" Morgan whispered. Weakened versions, Professor Wright corrected. It's like showing our immune system a picture of the enemy before the real battle begins. When the actual disease tries to invade, we're ready for it. The concept was so alien to the Valerian understanding of biology that several crew members had to excuse themselves from the room. On their peaceful world, deliberately introducing disease was unthinkable. But the most remarkable adaptation, Dr. Parker continued, is how different human populations developed specialized resistance to local threats. The holographic display showed a map of Earth with different regions highlighted in various colors. Humans who lived in areas with malaria developed sickle cell traits that protected them from the parasite. Populations at high altitude developed larger lung capacity and more efficient oxygen processing. Northern peoples developed light skin to absorb more vitamin D from weak sunlight. Your species has been shaped by biological warfare, Commander Zixtal said with growing realization. For millions of years, Captain Morrison confirmed. Every human alive today is the descendant of survivors who won countless microscopic battles. Professor Wright activated a new display showing modern human medicine in action. Now we fight biology with biology. We use bacteria to kill other bacteria. We employ viruses to carry genetic treatments into diseased cells. We even use controlled parasites to treat autoimmune disorders. Controlled parasites? Dr. Morgan asked weakly. Hookworms, Dr. Parker explained cheerfully. Some people deliberately infect themselves with intestinal parasites because the worms help regulate overactive immune systems. 2 more aliens had to be escorted to the medical bay as this information sank in. The remaining delegation stared at the humans as if they were looking at biological impossibilities. Let me show you something really interesting, Professor Wright said, bringing up an image of a tiny organism with a complex life cycle. This is Toxoplasma gondii, a parasite that can actually change human behavior. The display showed the parasite's journey from cats to rats to humans, demonstrating how it manipulated each host to complete its reproductive cycle. This organism can make humans more likely to take risks, change their personalities, and even influence their choice of romantic partners. Dr. Mew, Parker added. About 1/3 of all humans carry this parasite in their brains right now. Commander Zixtal's 6 arms began trembling again. 1/3 of your species has been infected by mind-controlling parasites? We don't really think about it much, Captain Morrison shrugged. It's just part of life on Earth. The holographic display switched to show modern genetic research, where human scientists were using the same biological tools that had once threatened to destroy them. Today, we use viruses to deliver gene therapy treatments, Doctor. Parker explained. We employ bacteria to produce insulin for diabetics. We even use modified parasites to fight cancer cells. Your medical science is based on controlled biological warfare, Dr. Morgan said in amazement. That's one way to put it, Professor Wright grinned. We learned long ago that you can't beat biology by fighting against it. You have to learn to work with it. The remaining aliens sat in stunned silence, trying to process the revelation that humanity had not only survived in a biological nightmare, but had learned to turn their enemies into allies. Dr. Parker looked at their shocked faces with sympathy. I know this is a lot to absorb. Living on Earth requires a very different approach to survival than most species would consider reasonable. Different? Commander Zixtal laughed weakly. Captain Morrison, your species doesn't just survive on a dangerous world. You've been forged by dangers that would serve as biological weapons against any other civilization in the galaxy. Commander Zixtal called an emergency meeting in the Harmony's Edge conference room, while the human delegation waited in the station's guest quarters. The remaining alien crew members sat around a circular table, their environmental suits still humming as they processed recycled air. Half of the original delegation was now in the medical bay, suffering from what Dr. Kelth had diagnosed as severe biological shock syndrome. We need to completely reassess our understanding of humanity and their homeworld, Commander Zixtal began, his 6 arms moving nervously across the table surface. Everything we thought we knew about Earth has proven to be fundamentally incorrect. Dr. Morgan activated his datapad, which now contained terabytes of new information about Earth's biological systems. Commander, I have spent the last 3 days recalculating our threat assessment models. The results are disturbing. Show us, the commander ordered. The holographic display in the alien conference room activated, showing a revised analysis of Earth's ecosystem. Instead of focusing on large predators like lions and sharks, the new assessment highlighted the microscopic threats that the aliens had completely missed. Humans are not brave survivors living alongside dangerous animals, Dr. Morgan announced. They are the apex species of a planet so biologically hostile that it would serve as a quarantine zone for most galactic civilizations. The alien crew studied the new data with growing amazement. Earth's bacterial diversity alone exceeded the total biological complexity of their entire home galaxy. The number of potentially lethal microorganisms in a single handful of Earth soil was greater than the total population of most civilized worlds. But how is this possible? Asked the ship's security officer. Our initial surveys showed a normal planetary ecosystem with standard carbon-based life forms. We were looking at the wrong scale, Dr. Morgan explained. We focused on megafauna while completely ignoring the microscopic warfare that has shaped every aspect of life on that planet. Humans don't just live with biological threats, they have been created by them. Commander Zixtal activated the ship's communication system to contact the Galactic Council headquarters. The response came immediately from High Chancellor Vexen, whose crystalline form appeared in holographic projection. Commander Zixtal, we are eager to hear your first contact report. Are the humans suitable for standard diplomatic relations? High Chancellor, I must request an immediate reclassification of Earth and its inhabitants, Commander Zixtal replied formally. Our initial assessment was not merely incomplete, it was dangerously inadequate. Explain. Dr. Morgan stepped forward to address the galactic leadership directly. High Chancellor, Earth should not be classified as a dangerous but habitable world. It should be designated as a biological warfare testing facility, inhabited by the most resilient species we have ever encountered. The High Chancellor's crystalline form flickered with what appeared to be surprise. That seems like an extreme recommendation, Doctor. With respect, High Chancellor, every breath of air on Earth contains more deadly microorganisms than exist on most member worlds. The humans carry trillions of foreign bacteria in their bodies as a normal part of their biology. They deliberately expose themselves to weakened diseases to build immunity. They use biological warfare agents as medicine, and they swim in oceans filled with venomous creatures for recreation, added the security officer helpfully. The High Chancellor was silent for several moments as this information was processed. Are you suggesting that humans pose a biological threat to other galactic species? No, High Chancellor, Commander Zixtal replied carefully. We are suggesting that humans have capabilities that we never imagined possible. They have survived and thrived in conditions that would exterminate any other known species. Dr. Morgan activated his datapad again. I recommend that Earth be offered immediate membership in the Galactic Council with special status. Humans should be recruited for any missions requiring survival in hostile biological environments. Furthermore, Commander Zixtal added, I believe human medical knowledge could revolutionize galactic healthcare. They have turned biological warfare into healing arts through millions of years of evolutionary pressure. The communication ended with the High Chancellor, promising to review their recommendations immediately. The alien crew sat quietly for several minutes, each lost in their own thoughts about what they had learned. Commander, the security officer said finally, I have been wondering about something. If humans are so adapted to biological warfare, what does that say about their expansion into space? Commander Zixtal considered this question carefully. I believe it means they are not exploring space out of simple curiosity. They are a species so adapted to overcoming impossible challenges that they actively seek new frontiers to conquer. The next morning, the alien delegation prepared to depart from the human space station. Captain Morrison, Dr. Parker, and Professor Wright gathered at the docking bay to bid farewell to their new galactic neighbors. Commander Zixtal, it has been an honor to meet you, Captain Morrison said warmly. I hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our species. Captain Morrison, the honor has been entirely ours, Commander Zixtal replied sincerely. We came expecting to find a species that had learned to coexist with dangerous predators. Instead, we discovered a civilization that has been forged by challenges so fundamental that they exist at the cellular level. Dr. Parker stepped forward with a small sealed container. We've prepared some gifts for your journey home. These are samples of harmless Earth bacteria that we thought your scientist might find interesting. The alien crew immediately backed away from the container, as if it contained antimatter explosives. Commander Zixtal accepted it with obvious reluctance, holding it at arm's length. Thank you. Dr. Parker, I am certain our biologists will find these samples fascinating once they can study them in proper containment facilities. Professor Wright grinned and extended his hand for a final handshake. Before you go, would you like to visit Earth's surface? We could arrange tours of our oceans, forests, or cities. The suggestion caused several aliens to require emergency medical attention again. The idea of voluntarily visiting the surface of Earth was comparable to touring an active biological weapon. Perhaps in the future, Commander Zixtal replied, diplomatically, when we have developed appropriate protective equipment. As the alien ship departed, Captain Morrison turned to his colleagues with a thoughtful expression. Do you think we came on too strong? They seemed pretty shocked by everything we showed them. Dr. Parker laughed. Jake, I don't think they were shocked by our biology. I think they were amazed that we're still alive. Professor Wright watched the alien ship disappear into the darkness of space. Wait until they meet the folks from Australia. Then they'll really understand what it means to be human. Back aboard the Harmony's Edge, Commander Zixtal made a final entry in his mission log. We came to Earth expecting to find a brave species that had learned to survive alongside dangerous creatures. Instead, we discovered that humans are not survivors of their world's dangers. They are the ultimate product of those dangers. Perhaps it is not that humans are unusually courageous, but that the rest of us have forgotten what true survival requires.